In Formula One, the spotlight usually falls on the drivers. They're the ones that the fans see, the ones courted by rivals. But behind the scenes, the most decisive moves often involve someone far less visible. It could be a strategist who can outthink the race, a designer whose pen rewrites the rulebook, or a leader whose choices define an era. Rival teams have spent fortunes and taken risks to steal that knowledge.
A massive fine for IP theft.
Because sometimes it is not the driver who tilts the balance of power, but the mind that carries the secrets.
The results are clear. What an improvement.
And that makes the person at the top the greatest target of all.
Laurent Mekies is the new team principal.
Every decision, every secret, every instinct they carry could be the one that changes everything. I'm Calum Nicholas, and this is Securing the Win, where we uncover the hidden stories in Formula One and with one password, take you inside one of the sport's most secure organizations. As a mechanic, I helped build Max Verstappen's championship-winning cars. And now, as an Oracle Red Bull Racing ambassador, I'm bringing you the unheard stories that defined championships. Hello and welcome to MK7, here in our Hall of Fame for our Oracle Red Bull Racing and One Password Securing the Win podcast. Now, in Formula One, secrets define success. And when leadership changes, the stakes rise even higher. Today's guest understands that challenge better than most. And he's had one of the most diverse careers in motorsport. As an engineer from Minardi to the FIA to Ferrari and Racing Bulls, and now as CEO and team principal of Oracle Red Bull Racing. Laurent Mekies, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Calum. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, really, honestly, I've been looking forward to this all day. I really have. So, Laurent, I want to jump straight in. You know, you've taken the reins mid-season. Firstly, what's it been like? And, you've already seen some, pretty impressive results. So what's been your approach?
The reality is that it was a big surprise for everyone, but it was also a big surprise for me. So, there was no real way. There is no way to prepare for such a change, especially in the middle of the season. So, the great things about it is that fundamentally it's a huge honor and a privilege to be joining a team that have such an incredible history of winning years after years, nearly decades after decades. And to answer your questions, you just get in there, and all you are trying to do from that point onward is to try to know these teams, try to get to know the team, so to get to meet as many people as you can, to start to understand the magic behind every door. It's fair to say, you look at Oracle Red Bull Racing as this incredible competitor that you have been trying to compete against for many years in the past life, and suddenly you are on their side, and your first reaction is I want to discover. You want to discover the magic. You want to discover how the talents that are behind the incredible results, the spirits, the way they go about racing. So the first couple of months, it's been only 2 months, I've been really just trying to meet as many people as possible, trying to start to picture an idea of how the team is structured, how the flows are working, and how we can together build even more competitive advantage in the future.
Yeah, perfect. I think, that's something that certainly my impression from everyone that I've spoken to is that you've really immersed yourself in this, wholeheartedly from the very beginning. But it's so much to learn and take on, especially coming in mid-season. How have you found that balance between trying to understand it all and put yourself in a position where you can move forward without it all just becoming overwhelming?
I think you cannot walk into a championship-winning team and with any preconceived ideas about we should go left, right, in the middle, or do A, B, and C. And it's really about trying to take the time to understand the strengths and the weakness of the team. And then with these people, because again, we have the best people in the world. That's basically what the results are telling us. So with our team, trying to designs together how we unlock even more out of the talents, is where are the rooms for improvement, for opportunities, where can we support better, where can we invest, and that's what we are doing. And of course, you're right, you try to do that whilst having a race every week or every 2 weeks. But it's always part of the game in Formula One, trying to somehow ring fence, the vision of the team and how you want it to progress, mid-term and long-term, and the hard reality sometimes of racing every week or every 2 weeks with the emotion that goes with it, and the high and lows that comes with the wins and missing the wins.
Yeah, and this is a team that I've always felt is built on emotion and built on people, so that really becomes a part of your life, right? But you're very different from most of our other team principals and CEOs in the paddock, like most of them come from businesses and boardrooms or marketing. You are an engineer. How do you lean on that experience, having worked with so many different organizations throughout this sport? How do you lean on that and use it as a way for you to guide this team forward?
I don't think it matters so much what is the background of the person getting there. Is it a technical background, or is it a business background, or is it something else? I think, as you said, you find a bit of everything in the pit lane, and yes, you may want to see some trend in a way or another. What can I tell you? It is certainly probably the most complex sport in the world. So we are a technology sport. We are a complex sport. It's enough to look at the size of the company. We are nearly 2,000 people on the campus now, and all we are trying to do is to race both two cars. To design, to produce, and to get the track with both our cars. So it gives you a scale of the complexity of the sport. So of course, naturally, it's nice to be able to immerse yourself a bit more with your team when it comes to complex decisions or decisions dominated by technical aspects. However, the history of the sport is full of incredible success, with teams being led by more business-oriented people or more management-oriented people, and I think in the end of the day, I don't think leadership style is important.
Okay.
I think you will find very different leadership style up and down the pit lane, but also in business and in the world. But what we all want is leadership, regardless of the style.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And like now, you're in this position where you have this 360-degree view of the business. Are there any areas already that you look at and you're like, I want to look at innovation in that area? Are there any bits that you've already sort of started to suss out?
It's fascinating, because teams evolve with different strengths of weakness. Yeah. So it's very nice to get to have the access to all the boxes in these teams, and to discover how extreme things are done here. So I think the first impression you get when you open these boxes here is wow, how far they went for that specific details, and how extreme they went there, and how close to the limit they are on these items. And soon enough, you understand that, well, it's not by coincidence that it's like that in pretty much every box you're opening. It's because that's really the teams that encompass the purest racing spirit, And with that comes running close to the limit, close to the edge, and the whole team is set up in that way. So that's the first thing that come into your face when you come here. And then innovation. Every single part of this team is breathing for innovation, is looking for the next things. And all we are trying to do is to try to balance that versus the potential of lap time in a given innovation. And
like, I know you say, we say there are many different styles of management, but I think you undersell yourself a little bit, because, all of this experience as an engineer and a regulator at times, you must be so used to communicating with different types of people in different areas. Now, I know from my time, whenever I was having to talk to the design office or engineers, it's often a very different mindset and style of communication than it would be with my other mechanics in the garage and technicians. So have you been able to sort of lean on your different experiences to get everybody pushing towards the same goal?
You know, the best part of the job, I think for anyone working in Formula One, but you will tell me your experience, is the incredible quality of the people that you are surrounded by. And of course, so not only you have that incredibly high level, and we are also enjoying in Formula One, in a Formula One top team, we're also enjoying that large diversity of backgrounds and angle of view on a given issue. So that's really the best part of the job, is that you are going to have these conversations, you're right, with incredibly talented people.
Yeah.
And also we are sort of fused, we are sort of formatted to have around the table people with very different way to approach an issue. And that's the richness of the sport. Yeah. So I think it's very much the part we enjoy the most. So it's impossible to say, is your background helping or not, because that's what we have only been doing that, you know. I always say I've never really worked. I've just had my hobbies paying me for a few years.
You arrive and you're just you.
And you know, it's the great things about being a fan like you are, and suddenly discovering that your passion is actually your job.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think one of the biggest things for me, and people often ask me in this new ambassadorial role, do I miss being at the circuit and do I miss racing? And I always say to them, I will always miss pit stops, the adrenaline of it. But the thing that I miss more than anything else is the camaraderie of being part of this team that are all pushing towards these same goals, the same challenges, the same things each week. And that's probably the thing that I miss the most, is just getting to spend even more time with people that I was so used to spending my life with. But look, you've been navigating challenges, and look, for some of them, they've been great successes. You know, we look at the last result was a fantastic one. I think we're looking slightly more optimistic going into the rest of the season. But how are you approaching morale as part of this? Because, you know, there are lots of things that I'm sure that you want to look at, whether it be the car itself or the way that we operate, but morale feeds all into that, right? And having happy people are productive people. So how have you been approaching that?
You know, it's a people business.
Yeah.
You could probably say that any business is a people business, but one thing is sure is that Formula One is a people business. Yeah. So our number one asset is our people. Everything else you see around here, the infrastructure, the tools, the process, they are just a consequence of the quality of the people you have. And if you now factor in the size that the teams or the top teams have now, you very quickly realize that the competitive edge is given by how close to optimum each and every one of the team members are performing in their job.
Yep.
So really all we do all day is try to see how we can, as groups and as a team, be in that optimum. And of course, you're right, that includes morale. Yeah. That includes how you feel when you get up in the morning, and how strongly you want to beat your competitors when you get to work. And so this is central to everything we do. I don't want to say that's the only thing we do, because you will think I exaggerate, but really that's the only thing we do.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And when you talk about like the morale and the mindset, I always used to say, even down to my performance in the pit lane on a Sunday, my mindset is the most important thing, because the physicality, hey, I'm running on adrenaline for 2 seconds, I'm not going to worry about an injury, but where I am up here in my head is probably the biggest deciding factor on my performance. So it's absolutely true. Now, Laurent, obviously in this position now, you've got all these key decisions to make. The sport doesn't stand still, and I'm sure you don't do a lot of standing still either. You know, you're incredibly busy. So how do you, in this crazy sport that never stops, how do you try and find some stability for you to remain calm and make all of these things happen as they need to?
It's part of the sport to have this these split decisions, these very fast decisions that you need to make, and to get this, you mentioned the adrenaline spikes that we all get at the race weekend, and it's very much part of the sport to enjoy your own calmness in the middle of that sometimes overwhelming environment.
Yep.
And I think, you develop into a space where that's your, I don't want to say that's your comfort zone, but that's the environment you are comfortable to be in, regardless of what you can describe as pressure or intensity. That's effectively where you have been trained as everyone in the team to perform at best. So I think, ironically, if we put you in a very, very quiet, no pressure environment, I'm not sure we'll see the best of Calum.
You absolutely wouldn't. You're absolutely right.
And therefore, we that's the beauty of the human body and human soul. We adapt and we evolve towards actually feeling, we need that environment to perform at best. So, when we want that intensity, we need that intensity, and that's some of the things that is fantastic here, is that you breathe that intensity in every room you get in. In every room you get in, you can see that somebody is trying to get that infinitely small advantage on the job he's doing at that very moment.
Yeah.
And that's what unite us all.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the same thing. Like I will always, if you put me in the deep end, you will always get the best out of me. That's how it's felt in this role a little bit since I started.
You like the challenges.
A little bit like I'm in the deep end here, but I work it out. And to be fair, these are the times you learn the most as well, right? You've had a long-standing relationship with Yuki already from your time at VCarb, and what's it like now in the garage? What's it been like so far working with Max and Yuki? Two of these top performers, and you're navigating this network of great performers in their roles. How's it been?
Look, starting with Max now, everybody knows Max's achievements on track, and again, we have seen it. I have seen it too often as a competitor. So everybody knows what he does in the car, and how extraordinary that is, and how close he is able to be from the limit, lap after lap, race after race, years after years. Is just something we know. We know he sets the benchmark there. I think the biggest surprise have been to discover him outside of the car, because obviously we don't have access to that when we are competitors or when we are a regulator or whatever. And he's as extraordinary, if not more extraordinary, out of the car that is in the car. The level of commitment is deep understanding of the complexity of the team trying to give him the fastest possible car, and how to drive that team towards the right solution for the car is incredible. And you add, he live day and night for racing. You call him at any time, he will be on his simulator, or he will be training, or he will be like
or the paddle court.
Oh, no, God, that's what it is. And if he's not in the simulator, he's racing with another car somewhere in Europe, and so forth and so on. And that tells you how intense the person is. But to combine that natural understanding of the huge number of people that is around you trying to drive the car performance. Not only you understand that there is many people, but you understand that you will need to choose the right words with each and every single of them to try it as well, to help them being at their optimum. That's what he does every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's very easy to underestimate how central Max is to the team. It's not the team and Max. He's completely embedded in the team. He's helping us developing the car, he's driving the car development, he's driving what we are doing for next year. So that's how tight the relationship is, and I think it's a huge asset for us. And then Yuki, yes, it's strange to and it's mega to regroup. Both of us in different role.
New team kit.
New team kit. Both of us with new team kit, and you know, it's. I've seen Yuki when he was in the last year and a half of the Racing Bull experience, and that's really the moment where he was exploding. You know, in terms of results, he was performing better and better. You are used to drivers improving, you know, in their first year.
Yeah.
Year 1 to year 2, sometimes year 2 to year 3. You know? But you know what he has, you know, the sort of step he has shown in year 4, in the beginning of year 5. Meaning year 5 is this year, is 2025 with Racing Bull was really more than what everybody was expecting, to the extent that he was promoted to Oracle Red Bull Racing. And then you find yourself into a completely different scenario. Max is your teammate, the pressure goes up 10 times, things don't seem to want to go your way, and suddenly the context is changing, the pressure level is changing, confidence is dropping, and it's a good reminder of how much of a human sport it is.
Yeah.
You know, speed don't disappear.
No.
You know, Yuki put the car in P5 on the grid in Melbourne. In race 1 this season, and so we are trying. You know, he's working very hard. He, like all of us, is driven by that resilience that motorsport is very good at teaching you, and he's keeping his head down. He tried to insulate himself from the noise outside and to concentrate on what matters, the speed in the car, spending more time with the engineers, and you know, we see progress. We all want more, but certainly we have seen a positive trend in the last few races.
Nice, excellent. Often in Formula One, when we talk about people moving around and all of this going on, we focus on the drivers or the big names, but you know, you're now in the business of making critical hires in engineering, in design, mechanics, people that the fans might not see on the podium. But you know, how important are all of these hires when it comes to, you know, turning things around and developing the car for the future?
So I think hiring people is the most difficult thing in the world.
Okay.
There is, you know, behind each single hiring, there is an opportunity to make a positive impact in the company, and you can equally make a negative impact if you get it wrong.
Yep.
And when you get it wrong, it's actually quite a long process.
Yep.
to get it back to the level where it should be. So hiring is really the one thing where it's probably the most critical task, ironically, even if it's not a split-second decisions, it is the most critical task. Now, here we are in a different context because you find an extremely established top team that have all the talent in the world, that have a group that have been winning the titles. So we are looking at chasing very, very small competitive edge, which hopefully will add up and will allow us to top the group. So you know, it's, you know, Red Bull Racing has been in that positions for a number of years now at the top of the grids. It gives us a fantastic traction when it comes to talent.
Yep.
So we are in that lucky positions, and you know, together with the incredible base that we have here, obviously we are in a good positions to try to look for these small incremental gains.
Absolutely, and talking of incremental gains, that innovation, it doesn't stop mid-season, and I know we're obviously almost in a bit of limbo this year in that we obviously have this huge project for next year that we're looking at, but we also want to try and get every result and every point we can this season. So when you look at the development of the car and the engineering, do you have to make this choice about balancing our resources, obviously because of our cost cap, but also when you look at an upgrade, how do you make the decision as an engineer when it's too soon or too late and not worth it? How do you come by all these decisions?
So, at first, it's a process that Pierre's team is leading on the chassis side. Tomorrow, Ben's team will lead that on the power unit side for next year. It's a difficult trade-off between 25 and 26.
Yep.
Everybody is in the same boat.
Yep. But
you can make quite large difference in how you balance the same quantity of resource between 25 and 26. So I think we are all in quite a similar boat now, whereby the development for these seasons is pretty much finished. You will see some very small things coming to the car that have been found and validated already a few weeks ago, but I think in that time of the year, everybody has put his research activities focused on 26. But you're right, it's a tricky decisions because there is no right or wrong. It's philosophical in terms of how high can you aim in the championships for this year compared to the compromise you want to take for the next year. And there is another layer, typically for us right now, where this project took us to a point where we have been hitting some limitations that perhaps has locked some of the performance of the projects. And even if the regulations are completely changing for next year, it is still very much critical for the engineering team to understand as much as possible of what has been the limitations for these projects, because fundamentally next year, even with a completely different set of regulation, you are still developing it with the same tools, with the same process, with the same KPIs. Hence, it is very important, and that's what the team is doing extremely well, to use the remaining races, not only to fight for every possible point, because that's what we do as a racing team, and that's why we wake up in the morning, but also to get to the bottom of what have been limiting us more than what we would have hoped.
Yeah, so it's a case of, even though the hardware is going to change significantly, the lessons that we learn will carry over, and there'll be lessons that we have going forward forever.
There is always an element of that, absolutely.
One of the sort of key words that I'd use probably to describe the year would be resilience. So come on, what does resilience mean to you?
As we said earlier, motor racing is the best school for teaching resilience. And I tell you what, we after Monza victory, we went up for, you will normally go into the race debriefing and try to see what has worked, what has not worked, regardless if you had a very good race or a very bad race, as you know. And as some said, we said to each other, wait, let's pause 2 seconds and enjoy the moment, And we did for 30 seconds, open the Red Bull, enjoy our moment, and then say, okay, let's go back to it now. That's what the sport is, because you know that behind every win there is many very difficult moments, and you are as good as your last game, and the second the win has happened, you enjoy it for a few seconds or minutes and you move on.
I hope after Monza you at least had a nice glass of red wine.
Yes, I must say we also had
Good.
that.
I'm glad you earned it.
Absolutely.
So look, a lot of leaders, a lot of people in your position, they'll see pressure as something to be fearful of. You've often described pressure as an opportunity. Could you expand a little bit and explain to us what you mean by that?
I think it connects to what you said earlier about resilience. It's an incredible ground for building resilience, because it's like if you have a business with publishing your earnings, instead of doing it every quarter, you do it every week. So that's a little bit what it is. You have that race result where whatever story you want to have in your head, this is the results. Nobody can challenge it. That's on the ground. The world is watching it. And you have to deal with it, whether you like it or whether you don't like it. I think as human being and certainly as a group, you learn a lot more in the difficult moment than in the good moment.
Yeah.
As disciplined as we all are, in the good moment, you always tend to think that you have done things nearly as good as you could have, even if sometimes it's not the case.
Yeah.
And in bad moments, you have this, you are exposed, the world is things that somebody has done a better job than you as a group. And it is in these moments as competitors, because we are all deeply competitors, that you learn, and you in that painful feeling that you learn, and that you move the lines to unlock some of the things that have been limiting you on that weekend. So a simple example is Monza last year was the most difficult race for the team. As you know, Monza is a very specific track. You come here with your bespoke wings, bespoke setup, bespoke way you run the car, blah blah blah. And last year was the most difficult race, and the guys did an amazing job. Looking back to last year, developing in differently the car from last year for that very specific race, and they saw the result of their work 12 months after.
Yeah.
And you go back there and you realize that you have made a huge step forward compared to last year at that very track, and that's what it is. And if we didn't have such a bad race last year there, maybe we would have had a less dramatic approach about Monza, and hence perhaps less progress. So it is what it is. You learn the hard moment. It doesn't give you any comfort in when it's happening to you, but that's the reality of it.
I think it's something that sometimes you'll only see with that hindsight. So I often said that I've never learned from a great pit stop, but I learned from every bad one, right? And look, when we talk about Formula One, we push everything to the limit, every area of the car, every area of the business, and the people as well. And when you do that, failure becomes a thing of not when, but not if, but when. Ultimately, when you keep pushing these boundaries, you are going to reach a point of failure. But how do you try to prepare people sort of mentally, and again, talking about morale, how do you try to prepare people for that failure?
I think it's very much a culture.
Yep.
A culture thing and a mindset things. I give you an example, and I think it's typically where Oracle Red Bull Racing is outstanding. If you want, as you said, if you want to be competitive, you need to be on the edge. If you are on the edge, it's going to hurt at some stage. It's meant to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was fantastic to witness the team bringing new stuff to the racetrack, new parts for the car.
Yeah.
And to see the team's reactions when it was not working. It's a big thing. You have a development for the car, you put it on the car. If it's not working, it's going to set you back.
Yeah.
You were of course counting on that amount of lap time for that very race. You don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic to see how normal it feels for the team to be on the edge. And therefore, when something fails, we know it's part of the game.
Yeah.
So you don't see finger pointing, you don't see any of that, because you know that yes, that stuff didn't work.
Yeah.
Or that stuff we cannot race it this weekend. But you know that the woman and the man behind it, they were on the very edge in the way they have approached their topic to extract as much performance as they could. And finally it didn't work, but it's very much because they had that approach.
Yeah.
And what you want is to keep that approach and deal with the time where you fall.
Yeah, and mate, that is perfect for my next question, because what my next question was going to be is, how do we, factor in that acceptance that there are going to be failures, but maintain accountability? Because sometimes you're on the pit wall, you're having to make these quick decisions where you really don't have time to debate it. Somebody's going to have to stick their neck out and say, look, this is the decision we will need to make. That person, whether it goes good or bad, they need to be supported to maintain this culture whereby people are not afraid to do that. But at the same time, you also need to make sure you're maintaining this accountability, because that's how we learn and we move forward. So how is it juggling that balancing act between keeping everybody confident on the pit wall to be able to get on the radio and speak up, but at the same time, make sure that we are learning from the things that don't go well?
I don't think it's a balancing act.
No?
I think it's, you try to have the best people possible. And once you have that, and obviously it's very clear in here that you have the best people around you, you need to give them all the support you can give them.
Yep.
And they may, they may take the right decision or the bad decisions in front of a given turning point. But what you will analyze is if it goes the wrong way, is the process, is what informations were available at the times, why did we feel it was the right decisions for those moments? How can we filter down the information in a different way? What stopped us from making the right decisions? So, our people needs to be empowered. They need to feel the full support. They need to have clear ownership of where is their area of responsibilities.
Yep.
And if you do that, and you combine that with the endless desires we have to improve things, then that's the way you will tackle the fail. And you will look at it, you will replay it. We go back to, so we get ourselves back in the room and replay the races. And if something goes wrong, we replay the races, we replay how we communicate, we listen to ourselves talking to each other. Why did we make the decisions there? Has it turned out to be maybe a wrong decision? What led us to do that there? And everybody do it with the desire to improve his own performance at that very moment.
So feeling supported is obviously a key part of that.
It's fundamental, that's the harshness of motor racing. You are going to get this difficult moment.
Yeah.
There is no such things as doing a good job. Doing a good job is only measured against the job of your competitors.
Yeah.
So there will be moments where you feel you have done everything right and somebody has done a better job, and you need to have that drive, that confidence, that support that makes you want to improve and get it better than the other guys the next time.
Yep. Now, when we do talk about failure, I think especially in F1, we're in these very long seasons now, very, very busy. And a huge part of that, certainly when we talk about our digital systems, we talk about the human element of it. Our own security and all the things that we do here, the human factor is probably one of the biggest and most important factors. When you look at it in sort of the holistic view of your job, do you have to try and account for those potential human failures?
At first you try to set up the team in such a way that people can concentrate on their core expertise.
Okay.
And this is also where you are looking for the right partners around you, so that people can only focus on what they are supposed to come to be very good at, and all the noise around is brought as low as possible. And this is when you need the right partners. This is when you need, you touched on security. Security is like Formula One. You need the right team. You need the people talent. And when everything works well, it gives you that performance that you don't see every day, but that allows all of us to be focused on what we need to do. So, do we account for failure? We should to be as close as possible from the limit.
Okay.
And yes, we know that comes with a risk of failure.
Yep.
And we know that if we have the desire to analyze the roots of the failure and move away from anything that will be, again, finger pointing, so focus on the solution, not on the problems, then we are progressing.
Yeah, perfect. And while we're talking about our partners, I have to ask, how's your password game across your devices? Is 1Password's password manager helping you keep on top of it all?
1Password is central to it, of course, but it's one of these invisible help that you need in the business.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get our talents to waste time and energy with tasks that they should not be worrying about. And we are in a business where security, IP is paramount importance.
Everything.
Is everything.
Yeah.
And you need that strategic partnerships to ensure that that layer of things is pretty much forgotten by the guys and the girls that are concentrating on the cars, and that's what we get with 1Password.
Yeah.
And it's giving us lap time. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. We've been speaking briefly with other members of our IT department, and I sort of asked them, I said, do you not feel like an unsung hero? Because when you've done everything that you need to do well, nobody notices, and that's by design,
Yes, that's by design, as you said, and it's but that's what a Formula One team is.
Yes.
It's what we say to each other is that everybody in the team has a small part of that thousand of a seconds. Everyone, our partners, everyone in the team have that 1,000 of a seconds and can bring an extra bit of performance to the business.
Yep.
And when we all go to work in the morning with that desire, that's where it's eventually adding up.
Obviously, we're here, 2025. It's our nature to go and fight for every point that's available for the rest of this season. But, 2026 is just around the corner with this huge project, and it's getting closer and closer. How have you found trying to balance today with tomorrow?
I think, ironically, it's getting a bit easier now.
Yeah.
Because in terms of how the team is organized, it is now very clear that the development focus has gone on to 26, whilst a part of the team is chasing the results on the 25 car and chasing the remaining bits of understanding that we want to take home.
But look, 2026, we're expecting it will probably shake the field up a fair bit. Much like pressure, it can either present a threat or an opportunity. Is that how you look at it, as an opportunity?
Yeah, of course. At first we look at it as an amazing challenge.
Yeah.
That's how we look at it. It's the most crazy challenge you can get yourself into.
Yeah.
We are doing it as Oracle Red Bull Racing with Ford, and it doesn't get much better. So it feels like an incredible challenge. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
Whether it is a risk, an opportunity, I will be tempted to tell you, it doesn't matter. What matters is it's going to push us to reach new level.
Yeah.
Collectively and individually, and that's what's fantastic about it. And then we are competitive people, so I'm sure the racetrack will push us the right direction.
Nice. Laurent, so your time at Racing Bulls, I know that now you spend so much time dealing with all of our drivers from F1 Academy as well. So you really have like a penchant for developing talent, right? So what's been your approach to it?
At first, credit to Helmut. The young driver program in Red Bull has been setting the benchmark for Formula One for a number of years.
Very long time.
And we have had incredible champions coming out of that pool. And yes, to add to that, at some stage, Red Bull decided to have two teams so that we can really give a platform to have a better chance to develop the young drivers. And that's what happened with Max, that's what happened with Sebastian, that's what happened with so many of them, with Daniel, etc., etc. And it's fascinating to deal with the young drivers, because when you try to evaluate them, when you try to support them, what we tend to do is you take a picture. That's what he did that race or that test. That's how fast he went.
Yeah.
That's how he behaved. That was his feedback, and that's, you know, the sort of feedback you will then give to Helmut or to your bosses, and then what we are instead looking for is where can that take him,
Yeah.
or where can that take her,
Yeah.
and that's a very, very difficult exercise for everyone, because as we have discussed earlier, the very good drivers, they make steps.
Yeah.
So it's not only steps in maturity, it's not only steps in technical feedback, they go faster.
Yeah.
And they don't do that in a linear way. You know, maybe you have 5 races, 7 races, and then suddenly this driver does something he was not doing previously.
Yeah.
And then another 4 races pass, and then suddenly does something more that he wasn't doing previously. So how do you plan for that? How do you project for that? That's the difficulties of at first selecting, and then once you have selected your drivers and you put them into the car, how do you create the environment around them to maximize the chance that they make these steps,
Yeah.
and that they make them as often as possible?
So like the patience to nurture the talent and hope that those results come and move forward from there. So come on then, Laurent, when you look ahead 2, 3, 4 years time, I want to know what you see as a vision for where we're at here at Oracle Red Bull Racing.
You know, this team is only living for one thing. It's to win.
Yep.
So the visions we have for Oracle Red Bull Racing is to go back to winning as soon as possible. And I say that because we won last week, so we still want to go back to winning as soon as possible.
Perfect. That would be nice.
And we know that we want to do that with our uniqueness. We want to do that with the Red Bull spirit, with the boldness of the Red Bull spirit, with the freedom that it gives us.
Yeah.
And we do not underestimate, and we have respect for the giants we are fighting against, but that's what makes us even more exciting to take the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, honestly, I'm really excited about 2026, and I speak to people across the business, and I feel like like you said, it's a real opportunity for us to show all of the things that we've learned and work towards before we get there. If there was sort of an area where you look at and you'd say, this was the focus when I first arrived, you know, because we came in, you know, you took over in this era where there was a lot of instability. You know, the team have been dealing with so many things over the years, and I want to sort of know how you've been able to sort of restore that and that calm among people, because, you know, I spend a lot of time talking to my previous colleagues in the garage when they're home, and we play a fair bit of golf. And look, the feedback that I've had from everyone is that you've arrived and people feel really confident in your leadership, and that's not necessarily natural for everyone when you have a huge change like this after so many years of stability and then this rocky patch. So I guess what's the secret?
No, you're a bit too kind. There is no secret. The reality is that we have an extraordinary team.
Okay.
So that's the reality, and we have extraordinary people, a huge amount of talents, combined with a unique racing spirit, that extreme desires to go and go faster than everyone. And you smell that in the garage, you smell that at the factory, and all we need to do is to make sure that our people are in the center of the projects, that they are supported, that they can express themselves at best, and that's what we try to do every day. And you do that as a group. You don't do that as an individual. And but to your earlier point, you know, of course the pictures you have of the teams will evolve with weeks and months, because you get to know more and more. But certainly the impact you get when you walk into that garage, when you walk into the factory of that energy, of that Red Bull energy, is something that you don't find any equivalent anywhere else in the world.
Amazing. Laurent, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure
Thank
to talk
you.
to you
Thank
today.
you, Calum.
I really enjoyed it.
Speak soon. Thank you.
you.
Cheers.